Indisputably, Simon Sinek's Golden Circle and his book Start With Why have made a huge breakthrough in the world of marketing. Leaders, entrepreneurs, or even employees now start to realize that seeing a vision, having it, and following it, in fact, has a crucial importance in organizations. I am personally a very big fan of this model, but in fact, more and more I used it or applied it in companies, the more I started to realize that it is not complete. What grabbed my interest was the reaction of Apple's close followers. Simon is using Apple as a clear example of a company that perfectly fits into his model. Well, at first it may sound really reasonably actually, but in fact they do not agree with Golden Circle in a sense. The reason is that it omits the importance of individual. In fact, it is against its core campaign of Think Different that highlights the importance of individual within the society. Well, maybe you remember the famous Steve Jobs commercial where great people are displayed with highlighted fact that they as individuals think differently. And here is the point. In fact, Golden Circle is passive and as it can exist just in organizations, not individuals, it is not always successful. You can see that or you can maybe read some articles that golden circle is not really always applicable in the company. So that's what I have focused on it. Actually, I am not the first one who realized the non-existence of the who aspect in this model. The only important critics that were raised against the golden circle tried to insert the innermost layer or core where the question who is stated. Unfortunately, these guys miss the concept of model as it takes as granted that there is always someone who to talk with in our company communication, either our customers or shareholders. So there is always someone and this critique was totally out of the point. But let's move. Our basic question then is how to apply golden circle to individuals. If we were to work with the prerequisite that golden circle strives to make companies become successful, and then proper application of golden circle to individuals would be to create great individual as a successful person. Well, here we can rely on any of the numerous models of how to be successful or get rich quick schemes. All of them agree on the same point. We have to think differently. I personally do not like relying on social sciences, so let's work with really purely scientific method, and that is recent research of Amy Cuddy, which became really popular and disputed. It is well known that our mind influences our behavior, so we can somewhat read our body language. But now it says that our gestures, positions, physical appearance, or what we say, on the other hand, predetermines what we think. So it is reversed. I would really encourage you to watch this TED Talk on their YouTube channel. Anyway, so we can rely on words and language as a tool in order to find an application of Golden Circle. A tool to use in order to change one's behavior by purpose. Basically the same as we did with the Golden Circle in companies, but this time with a person. Okay, let's begin with our search for words and their meanings. Single most important word of golden circle is why. If this word predetermines either company or individual for success, what is the opposite? Which word stands for the failure and the least successful company or person? It is going to be but. The reason is that actual opposite of success or activity is failure because of an excuse. Every excuse begins with but. But is a dream killer, but will stop you to think and act on your dream. Just try to say some excuse why you haven't been working today without saying why. It's impossible. So with this, what we can say, we can create the bipolar line with these our two extremes. On the one side is success with word why, and on the other hand is failure with word but. All the other words in our vocabulary are going to be somewhere between these two poles. Here are also going to be the other two questions of how and what, but they are insignificant for now. We can just focus on extremes. If we go deeper now, we actually find a physical space of these significant words, either in space around us or in our mind. Let's imagine a situation that you are hungry. If you ask a question, what, some point occurs. For instance, you are hungry and ask, what should I do or eat? You start to think about points such as pizza or fridge, which really are the points. If you ask, okay, how I'm going to solve this or that, you imagine a line or a set of lines. For instance, you walking to the fridge, you taking a cab to Pizza Hut. And now, with why a space occurs, some bubble or rather a sphere. It's the reason of an action. This is rather hard to imagine, but if you actually close your eyes, you might glance this empty space that arises with question why. How do you respond to this? It's no longer as simple as with points or lines. When you to this empty space in your mind respond with some excuse, you just close that sphere. So in order to be successful or to find a person for success, one has to answer the question why and fill this space. And now comes the fun. This is proven, for instance, in job of social workers or say psychologists, as well as in our everyday communication. Therapists should almost never show you the reason for doing or not doing something. For example, you should not smoke because it's very unhealthy. Your natural reaction to this will be, but something something. They should lead you to find in yourself the answer or the reason, not to give you the one, because you will naturally respond with a but. So, an excuse. Moreover, this can be seen in lessons you are being taught on being a great businessman. The why questions are considered to be not very favored because you force the interviewer to reveal his whole truth or whole idea, so he doesn't like it. On the other hand, hearing but is really not favored as well because of simply excuses. So these really are the two extremes of our vocabulary in business matters. Finally, I personally love math. If you are about to draw a point, you need just three numbers or variables. To draw a line, it's actually harder. You need to have 2 points and connect them, so it is a bit more complicated. But if you want to define a space or a sphere, that's very hard. And this is it. It's much harder to find an answer to why as it is much harder to define a space in math. Now, trust me with this. If you have counted number of but sentences a person says and number of questions with why or answers to this question, you would be able to get a very good hint on career life of this person. So we can conclude it now. The reason why golden circle sometimes fails in companies is that individuals as people don't understand it. Considering individuals, the golden circle is thus reversed. Great leaders are not great because they start with why, but because they come up until why. What represents points that are connected with how as the lines. All of us start with what, but only some of us continue to why and then pursue it. And only the why questioning and answering represent success or wall space. Moreover, what needs to be added to golden circle is understanding of word but. If answer to why represents some matter, then but represents antimatter. That if the sphere or matter or y meets with antimatter around of but, it is simply annihilated or oblate. So the most successful individual or company in the world will never say a word but, and will be able to understand most of the reasoning and answer most of the why questions.